dark hair. Friends in the hallways, adventures we find, spells and enchantments, trouble on our mind. That's so wizards, oh, 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 oh. Life is a spell we know. We're casting joy and glow, oh, oh. That's a wizard show.
Has Dungeons and Dragons peaked? Has Hasbro stock gone up yet again? Are the Q3 numbers dropping tomorrow as they are predicted to? And why should we care that Renegade's going to reprint a board game from 2011? I don't know, it's Wednesday. It's your boy, the OGGM, broadcasting live yet again from the mysterious Fresno, Nevada, located nowhere because it doesn't in fact exist, on a foggy Wednesday morning as we spiral into Halloween, finally spookiness, and then of course the holiday season. Now, why is this important? Why do we care if the Waterdeep Lordy thingy is being reprinted? It's a semi-decent, simple board game. It came with a lot of great figures, as most of the board games did when they came out in 2011, 2012. It's just weird because what else happened in 2011, 2012? Something. Oh, yeah. 2011, 2012 was when Wizards of the Coast switched back to the board game, and fourth edition slowly started ceasing to exist. And then playtesting for the new version of Dungeons and Dragons, D&D Next, started around 2012, 2013, with 5th edition coming out in 2014. I should know. I playtested D&D Next for the whole run. Not that I got much in the way of credit for it, and they didn't use anything in the playtest, but still, I was there. So 2011 is about the time 4th edition died. 2011, they start releasing board games and easy-to-produce figures and peripherals in order to refill the coffers. They focus more on video games and Magic the Gathering. And then about 2 years later, they announce the playtester beginning for the new version of D&D, which we now know as the 2014 5th edition. Well, here it is, 2025. Q3 numbers drop tomorrow, supposedly, which I was just talking about on Monday. And D&D is apparently peaked, even though Stranger Things is going to start its final run in November. And we're predicting a huge influx of sales for Stranger Things related product and D&D. Plus, Christmas is coming up. So a lot of people are going to be watching the final season and going, hey, I want to get into this game that this TV show mentions occasionally. Now you would think, oh, well, they're not going to merchandise Stranger Things. We've already got series. Well, I was in a very weird store yesterday and I saw tons of stuff for Stranger Things that I never thought they would make. Stranger Things flavored lollipops. Not sure what that flavor is. Stranger Things flavored Oreos. Stranger Things flavored chocolate chip cookies. What is Stranger Things flavor? Peanut butter? Now, following the announcement of Renegade reprinting Lords of Waterdeep in 2026, we also discovered that Hasbro Wizards of the Coast is going to be making some changes to the Forgotten Realms, continuing to separate it from the Forgotten Realms we know and love, and add new things to it so it is completely unrecognizable, and then eventually it just becomes its own thing and it has no connection to the Forgotten Realms that we grew up on. Again, why is this important? Why do we care? We know they're going to change it. They said they're going to change it. They're doing everything they said they were going to do. They made major changes to the rules right before 4th started vanishing. They made major changes to the rules right before 2014 5th edition became 2024 6th edition, or whatever we're calling 2024 D&D. 5.75, and somewhere floating out there is still Dungeons and Dragons 6X June 2027, which would be about 2 years from now. In 2011, 2 years after that, 4th edition started playtesting. And then a year or so after the playtesting started, 5th edition came out. 2025, 2026, D&D is peaking. They're focusing more and more on other aspects of Dungeons and Dragons. We're seeing a reprint of a board game that came out when they slowly killed off 4th. They're changing the Forgotten Realms and still floating out there, whatever it means, Dungeons and Dragons 6X, June 2027. So has D&D peaked? Has D&D gone as far as it can go in its current incarnation? Sales are steady. They're not going up. They're not going down. Stock is shot through the roof. It's like there was a whole bunch of people talking about Wizards of the Coast Dungeons and Dragons for the past 2 weeks for some reason. And then people are still talking about Wizards of the Coast Dungeons and Dragons for reasons. It's like Wizards of the Coast announced something that got a lot of people angry. And then when it looked like that was petering off, they announced something else that got people really, really angry. And people are talking about them. Why would we want people talking about them and saying negative things about them? Weird. But every one of the negative things people are saying about Wizards of the Coast, from Dungeons and Dragons players being homophobic to people like Sandy Peterson being tourists to the hobby and don't know the first thing about it. This is a bunch of anger directed at statements that Wizards of the Coast made by people who Wizards of the Coast claim won't let you play. We talked about this on Monday and how Wizards of the Coast won the internet because of all the free press that they got, and for people saying horrible things about Wizards of the Coast, and Wizards of the Coast turning around and saying, look what they're saying. It proves the point we've been making for the last 4 years. Weird. I'm drinking coffee. So how is this news? Right. It does seem to show that, oh my God, oh no, Wizards is continuing to shift Dungeons and Dragons into, the planned transition that they've been talking about since 2020. The planned transition, we first saw them begin when 4th edition came out. The planned transition when they switched Dungeons and Dragons 3 to 3.5, which was completely unnecessary. They continue to transfer Dungeons and Dragons to a more profitable, more widespread product that is approachable by everybody, that has no connection to previous editions, and is much easier to monetize because D&D itself has peaked, and D&D itself doesn't make them any money. But Renegade to reprint Lords of Waterdeep, that's pretty much pure profit. The game's already made. All they have to do is maybe update the rules a little bit. All the figures, those are already locked in the printer, so they don't have to make new ones. They can just reprint the figures that came with the last one. Everything is just reprintable. They don't have to pay anybody to change it because that stuff's already in the boat. They just have to release it and print it out. How much of a cost is that going to be? Well, probably more than it was the last time because the tariff thing and the shipping thing, and we're going into the holidays. And of course, with the government shut down, it's a lot harder for things to move cross country or to be parked in the docks because there's nobody monitoring those. Oh, there's a boat out there. Well, what do you want me to do? I'm not a lighthouse keeper. I don't work for the Department of Docks. I'm here to clean up penguin poop. The guys whose job it is to do that are furloughed. So, yeah, it's going to be a little bit more expensive to print stuff out. It's going to be a little bit longer to print stuff out. But you know what doesn't take any time whatsoever? or require shipping, well, that would be putting things online, making digital versions. Is a digital version that you would have to download and print out of Lords of Waterdeep possible? Of course it is. We've seen plenty of things like that. The cardboard maps, we know that that can be printed out. We've seen that. The rules, that's easy. The figures, again, STL files, that's easy. If you got a 3D printer, great. If not, we'll also release some little pogs so you can have them printed out 2D. All you have to do is buy this, download it, get cardboard to print out the hard stock, and there you do. Bob's your uncle, whatever that means. It's a great line, though, isn't it? Bob's your uncle. Bob's your uncle. Here's Waterdeep Lords that you just were able to download. Didn't cost us anything because all that information already exists, and we didn't have to ship it or build it. So, pure profit. Stranger Things coming out. Hey, we made the game that figures so prominently in Stranger Things. In fact, a lot of people think Stranger Things and Dungeons and Dragons are the same thing. How on earth could we monetize that? Oh, what? Stranger Things flavored lollipops. Stranger Things flavored Oreos. Stranger Things Dungeons and Dragons crossover patches and enamel figures and collectibles. Weird, because we didn't have to do anything to make those. And yet, anytime anything's related to Dungeons and Dragons, we get a percentage. And it becomes ours. And didn't we just re-release a Stranger Things themed starter set that didn't cost us anything? Weird. Didn't we, Wizards of the Coast, tell you, our buying public, what our plans for 2025 were in regards to the history and the future of the product? And where do we see the product being by 2030 with Q3 numbers about to drop tomorrow and our stock shooting through the roof over the last 2 weeks because, oh no, a whole bunch of people are talking about us. Weird. It's like we planned this. It's like we came up with a plan, told you what the plan was, and other than a few hiccups like 2023, Wizards of the Coast has pretty much been following the plan to bring us to here, where Lords of Waterdeep are being reprinted. Stranger Things is about to hit, which we know will increase our popularity. And, you know, the last time we released Waterdeep was about the same time we started petering off forth and focusing on a new product. Dungeons and Dragons 6X in June of 2027? Question mark? I mean, if that was true, that would be just so Wizards!
Mischief in the classroom, potions gone astray. Flying through the quad, now brighter every day. Laugh till we cry hard, sneaking out at night. Cloaks in the moonlight, everything feels right.